Hopefully you'll enjoy the presentation and get excited about what we're doing. So the book launch today is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and all these online bookstores, wherever you buy books these days. So I just wanted to start with a quote that a friend sent me from Carl Sagan, and I think he just really gets it, right? That books are still a really great medium across time. That there are people who've been dead for centuries that can still communicate with us and bring these concepts to life that we can then learn from. And that's something that's really special about our species, right? Is that we can learn from each other while we're alive and even after we're dead. So that's an amazing technology, even if it's not something we really consider technology today. So I know a lot of you here, but I just wanted to run through a little bit of background, just to kind of paint a picture for where I started thinking about this and how I brought these concepts together. So, I really started out thinking about nonprofits, working in AmeriCorps and volunteering with organizations like Boys and Girls Club and Habitat for Humanity, and really looking to make an impact face to face. And through travels, I lived in Japan for a few years, did some work in South Africa around sustainability and renewables, and took a lot of courses in sustainability and started seeing that there's actually a really big business opportunity here. And that around 80% of human activity is actually from the private sector. So if we can transition that to something that's sustainable, then that's really a way that we're going to make the most impact. So then I started focusing my career on that, did my MBA at Presidio, where a few of you went. Great to see you, Presidians. And then also working at companies like Hitachi, working on sustainable strategy with them, a lot of Fortune 500s and governments, doing things like smart cities, but also working with agencies like Clean Edge, doing some consulting around research and advisory on sustainable transition and renewables and all of that, and then mentorship with climate tech startups. And now here we are with the book with launch party, so thanks everybody for coming. So I've also had a chance to be featured in quite a lot of publications, and so I thought, you know what, these reporters call you up and they have a conversation with you and they publish a couple sentences of the conversation, and it's usually the ones you don't want published, and it doesn't necessarily speak to what you're trying to say. So I thought, why don't I just write a book and get the whole conversation down and really publish what it is that I'm trying to talk about. So when we really think about the future and the stories that we see around us about the future, what do we see? I mean, there's a lot of really entertaining stuff, but it's mostly dystopia, right? We've got robots stomping on human skulls and trashing the planet and killing everybody. We've got giant climate disasters. We've got The Matrix, right? Computers take over and enslave us. Black Mirror, one of the best shows on television, super entertaining, but also very hard to find something to look at. I love this quote from George Orwell. If you want a vision of the future, imagine a boot stomping on a human face from 1984, right? How inspiring is that? And it just goes on and on, right? Like, we really love watching ourselves get destroyed. And again, it's really nothing we can do about it. But there's also some really inspiring utopian stories. It's not all dystopia. And when we look at utopian stories, they give us a better vision for what could be. A lot of technologies that were envisioned from that we're now seeing today. And some of these technologies were actually inspired by these stories. That people took these stories and these technologies they saw in science fiction and started creating real things. Everything from iPads, cell phones, to now needle-free injections, and tasers. I actually saw a talk by the guy who is the CEO of Axon, the taser company. And he said that Star Trek is something that inspired him. He was tired of watching police only have the option to handcuff people or kill them. And so he wanted to decrease the amount of killings by police officers by giving them another option, a non-lethal option. And he was inspired by what he saw in Star Trek. So this helps us to envision that future and be able to give us something to create. Now, it's not saying that there aren't problems out there, right? Like, I'm pessimistic about a lot of things, I'm also optimistic about a lot of things, but in reality, it doesn't really matter. What matters is what you go out and build and what you do, right? Because the future isn't just happening to us, it's something that we're out creating every day. And so this is actually one of my favorite cartoons to send to family members who are climate skeptics and everything else, who say, what if this is just a big hoax, right? And we create a better world for nothing. Wouldn't that be terrible, right? If we have these really livable, sustainable cities, healthy children, great healthcare, nature, cities. These are all the things that we're building in this sustainable transition. And let's say it was a hoax. We still create a better world, right? And for the better. So, but it's not just a more happy way to think about it. It's actually a more effective way of creating a future and creating better innovations. So when you're in this state of fear and thinking about dystopia and everything that could go wrong, this actually puts your brain into a fight or flight or even appease mode, and that shuts down, on average, around 30% of your mental capacity. Right? So you're not in a creative mode, you're not in a condition to really create something, you're just ready to survive. But when you're in this safe space of playful and creative mode, this actually activates a lot of your brain and gives you the ability to cross those different networks within your brain and draw from different areas. So this gives you more energy and drive, helps you innovate more, and create new connections in your brain and think about things differently. So it's actually a more effective brain state to be in if you want to create and if you want to build something. So this is great, but then how do you actually do it, right? So we're here in a design studio. I'm sure plenty of people have heard of design thinking, but there's really a lot of methods to go about this one by one. So with design thinking, what you do is you start with understanding the people that you're designing for, what their needs are, what their challenges are, really deeply empathizing with people, and then you imagine what the ideal is. So let's say that you have any technology possible. You had flying saucers, anti-gravity, and everything else. What would be the perfect solution? And then you get down to what's actually technically possible. What can we actually do feasibly with technology? And then you whittle it down from there into what's feasible from a business model standpoint and financially. What can you build a sustainable business around? And I mean sustainable financially. So what happens when you start with what's desirable is that you get all of these new ideas that you went otherwise, and then you're able to actually increase the amount of feasible and viable solutions that you're able to come up with. So this has been proven time and time again through all kinds of different studies and plenty of demonstrations here in Silicon Valley of how this is used to create lots of new solutions. But that isn't to say that there isn't a role for the naysayers as well. We can't all just be getting excited about the future and never thinking about what could go wrong. This is a framework I really like called the 5 dynamics. And in the 5 dynamics, there's 4 types of personalities that aren't necessarily good at something, but they get energized by doing it. And so the first one is explore. These are people who love thinking about new ideas, they love novelty. How does this create something new for us? And then you've got people who get excited by exciting, right? They want to tell other people about it. These are the marketers, the people that go shout this from the rooftops. And then you get the examine people. These are the people who love spreadsheets and taking things apart, figuring out how they work, and double checking everything. And think about risks, and they think about what you forgot and what you didn't bring. Really valuable to have on the table because they can balance out this other side. And then you've got these people who just love checking off boxes. Right? They want a task list, they want things to do, and they get excited by just completing things. And so each one of us, if we take these types of tests, score differently in different areas. And so often entrepreneurs will score high in explore and execute. So they love new ideas and they love just getting things done. But they might not create the right thing, and so they need people who get excited about examining and asking these other questions and scrutinizing. So what they found through this research is that the most effective teams are actually ones that are well balanced, but this also creates a lot of conflict. And so when people don't know that this is a personality difference and that someone who's exploring is just getting excited about something, or someone who's asking those questions is just getting really energized by scrutinizing the issue, they can take it personally and it causes all kinds of problems with teams. But if people can put up with each other, this is actually a really effective way of building a team. So this needs to be talked about in culture forming and building teams. Okay, so then we start talking about dystopia, right? We all know that there's all kinds of disasters going on. We think the world is getting worse, and everything we see on the news is telling us that the world is getting worse and worse. And our children will be happy to be alive in 10 years, right? The world's horrible, isn't it? But when we take a step back and we look at things in the longer term, imagine walking into this little old west town and telling people that, in a relatively short period of time, a few generations, there would be basically no poverty that compared to anything we were living with. The vast majority of people would be educated around the world. Literacy would be way up. They wouldn't even know what vaccination was, right? You would tell them, oh, that disease, we understand what it does. There's little bugs flying around. We can actually cure the vast majority of things that kill you. Also, we're not living off of warlords and these sheriffs who run the town. Democracy is actually spread around the world, and most people have a say in what we do. Plenty of places that don't, but this is the right trend that's going on. And child mortality, right? It was almost half, right? 41% of the people in 1820 died as a child. Can you imagine like a tragedy that would be? And now it's down to less than 4% in the developed world. And so these are things that if you went to the Old West and you told these people that the future was going to be like this, they'd probably just throw you right out in peace, right? And challenge you to a duel at high noon. And we still do some of the same things. So a lot of people who come out and talk about the way the world could be and get excited about what the future could be often get ostracized. And there's a human behavior element to this, that we want people who are responsible in our tribe, that aren't going to go run out and try to make friends with a bear, or bring a mountain lion into the village, right? Because that's something that could be fun, but it's not safe. So it makes sense that we don't want that, but we live in a different world, and we live in a world where we really need to be exploring, we really need to be getting excited about new ideas so that we can overcome these challenges with the innovations that will actually solve the problem instead of the same thing. So there's a lot of change, and we see ourselves in this era of transition, right? So this is another model that I talk about in the book that I think is really interesting. It's the Three Horizons model. And so what we're seeing, I think, in a lot of different areas is that there's parts of our society and our economy that are not fit for purpose anymore. They don't really do their job. It's not functioning as well as maybe it used to or as we expect it to. And so these things, they go into a decline. There's some things that are worth conserving over the long term, but there's a lot of things that just need to go away. And then we start innovating, and we can see that there's pockets of the future happening in the present. Right? There are things that we can see maybe from these innovations I talked about in Star Trek. Right? We can see where these things might take over. When the beginning of the internet came, people could see that there might be a global communication network where people could communicate and maybe send in pictures and messages back and forth, but they had no idea what it would create in the future with mobile and everything else. But during this period of transition, this is a really messy mix. And so what happens is you get the beginnings of innovation, you get a lot of new alternatives, and we start testing out these different futures and these different technologies that can help us get there. But there's a lot of conflict in the transition zone, and I think that's what we're seeing today. In so many different areas, we're in this transition period where it's creating a conflict between the entrenched interests and the new paradigm and the new cultures. And so an example of this is carbon and fossil fuels, right? So this was an amazing innovation. You could argue that most of our population is an oil party, over the last century. And that's fantastic, except for the problem of climate change, right, which we didn't know was coming. And so we know that a new abundance is possible through sustainable energy, through sustainable transportation, manufacturing, and all those other things. But we're in a transition, right? There's a messy mix where we're trying to figure out, is it hydrogen, is it energy, what about lithium wars that we might get into with China, right? How is this all going to play out? And so as this transition continues, it's not guaranteed, but it's highly likely that the superior alternative will win in the end, unless it's highly controlled by warlords generally. But we're moving in a good direction. Another model that we talk about is the donut economics, right? So this way of thinking about the economy is that there's a social foundation. There's a certain amount of abundance that human beings need to be happy and healthy and to survive. But there's also an ecological ceiling. There's a limit to what the Earth can support. And so because we're people living in a society within an economy that's within an ecology, we are dependent on that ecology to help these things run. So, we're in overshoot, we're in shortfall in different areas. But what I think really is happening here is that with entrepreneurs and innovators, we're actually able to thicken this donut in the middle. It's not that it's limited into this two-dimensional space. We're actually able to create more abundance and more wealth and more value by creating these new paradigms and these new innovations. And so with that, we're able to thicken the amount of abundance within those limits and live better without going overboard into ecological collapse. And the good news is there's a ton of opportunity around that, right? So Chris Sackett just said that climate investing isn't even fair, right? We know the transition's coming, there are trillions of government dollars going towards this, there's billions of VC dollars and more every day. Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, says the next 1,000 unicorns are going to be climate tech startups, right? This is a transition that we know is coming, and we know that there's a lot of value there. Big companies like BCG, right? They did a study that looked at companies that integrate sustainability and impact into their core business, and they found that they not only perform better in terms of total impact, but they perform better in terms of shareholder returns and shareholder impact. So financially and from a social and ecological standpoint, they have better impact. These companies enjoy higher margins, higher valuations. They enjoy lower cost of capital, cheaper financing, better retention, better HR, and just overall higher value. And they get to play in faster growing markets. So markets for sustainable products and services are growing much faster than traditional markets. Granted, a lot of them are smaller, so that makes some sense. But my guess is that the companies that don't take this on will be the Blockbusters and the Kodaks of the future, right? They're going to miss this boat. It's not going to be acceptable to their customers. It's not going to be acceptable to regulators, and they're just not going to be able to provide the solutions that the market wants. So they'll die out. But we're seeing a ton of this innovation, right? In this second horizon, we're seeing a huge proliferation of even a bubble of climate tech startups, right, that are growing, and then from that bubble, we'll get the ones that will be the go-to solutions in the future. So like I said, rapidly growing VC investment, there's more and more dollars every day going into this, and these are big markets, right? Circular economy, renewables, green tech and sustainability, impact investing. These are trillion-dollar markets, right? We're not talking about a few $1 million, a few billion. These are enormous, world-changing markets that we can be a part of by getting involved in climate tech and impact. And I think crowdfunding is a really interesting part of this. The Jobs Act was passed that allowed people who weren't accredited investors, so people making under $250 and with less than $1 million in the bank, are now able to do equity crowdfunding. So they're able to own stock in companies. And that's growing incredibly rapidly. But what happens when you put this all together? So you've got more funding for innovation and non-traditional founders, right? So it's spreading more around the globe. You've got even more tools for them to create these innovations in the startups, right? So tools to collaborate, tools to hire the people, tools to build low-code, no-code type solutions. And then what you get with this is not only better for the entrepreneurs, but it's better for the investors, which is all of us, right? And we get a chance to participate in capitalism just like we would if we were millionaires 10, 20 years ago, right? And so this is where a majority of wealth comes from, is from investing, right? And so now that we're able to be part of that and we're able to be included in the economy, there's a lot of opportunity for regular people to be part of this transition, to thrive by doing it. So, the trends are really interesting, but I think it's also kind of passively looking at the future, where is the future going, instead of saying, this is the future we want, let's go build it. But I think it's important to look at and think about the things that are converging. And we all know this, right? Electrification is coming, smart contracts, democratized capital that we just talked about, the sharing economy, IoT automation, and the demand for ethical and sustainable everything, right? So these are all the things that are being incorporated into a lot of our solutions. And a lot of these physical goods, which were maybe unsustainable to produce and created a lot of waste, and we can say there's a lot of e-waste now too, are becoming digitalized. And that means that all of these things that used to take an entire factory to create are now electrons, right? And being created from a software developer. So that's creating a lot of waste. It's also a jobs question, right? And so how do we make sure that we still have the wealth to be able to participate in the economy? And I think the concept of a zero marginal cost society is one that gives us a really good insight into what could go right in the future. and what that world might look like if all of those things converge. So let's start with renewables, because it's kind of a complex concept, but it's really fascinating. But it starts with renewables. So basically, renewables are taking free energy from the sun, right? You have to build a solar panel, you have to build a wind turbine, but after you build it, it's essentially free, right? And so it becomes cheaper the more it produces. And then when you start bringing things like automated manufacturing and automated maintenance, those physical machines and those physical products like solar panels and wind turbines can be 3D printed and automatically manufactured and automatically maintained. So once again, that's just energy cost to maintain and build those different solutions. And so that, once again, becomes cheaper. And then we've got data coming off of everything, we've got analytics and insights coming from everything that we see. And now we're starting to see things like smart contracts and automated contracts coming into the fore. So this means that machines can actually do business with themselves. So if all of this foundational work is being automated and run off sustainable energy, and we're sharing these goods, right? Your car is parked for what, 98% of its life. We've seen this with Uber and Lyft, and then as things get automated, when automated vehicles finally come around, taking a little longer than we thought, but definitely improving, that those same assets have a much higher resource efficiency and resource effectiveness. So instead of needing to build one car for 10 people, right, 10 cars for 10 people, we can build one car for all 10, and then they share that wealth. And so that's true of housing and vehicles and all kinds of physical goods. And then what happens is that when you're producing physical goods, you get economies of scale as you start ramping up, but eventually you start running out of goods, running out of raw materials, running out of factory space, and your costs actually start going back up. With the peer-to-peer sharing economy, what that does is sort of flatlines, and you get a lower average cost per resource to be able to share with all of the people in this network. And then when you start thinking about digital goods that are becoming ubiquitous everywhere, that's even further. So this doesn't even really plateau, but it's exponentially cheaper the more people use it, right? So to serve 10 people with a digital product is basically the same as serving a million people. You've got to pay a little more server costs, but if all of this is fueled by free renewable energy created and maintained by automated machines, and then you bring in circular economy where you're taking that actual material, you're recycling it and putting it back in the system, what does that system look like? I mean, that system is now running free energy, it's being automatically maintained, automatically recycled, and put back into the system. And then you actually have a zero marginal cost society where things get exponentially cheaper, and people now need much less income to live and to get themselves around and to do the things that we do today. And so there's a question around the transition to that that's been a hot topic for the last few years, right? Truck drivers, what happens when we lose all these jobs. But also what happens when everything is nearly free, right? If you're able to take a Lyft for 5 cents, and that can be covered by the cost of the advertising that's landing the car or going somewhere, you're essentially just getting around at no cost. So there's a lot of directions we can go with this, and I think this is a really fascinating concept to think about. And then in the interest of designing the ideal, what I looked at in the book was applying Maslow's hierarchy of needs, not just to the individual, but to society. So what would it look like to have a society that met Maslow's hierarchy of needs for population, for all people? And again, this is designed for the So when we look at physiological needs for society, that would be more like infrastructure. So we looked at energy. I talked to people like Peter, who worked in energy, and some others that we know about where this could all go. And I'm not going to get into every detail because we really start mapping this out and start designing for what an ideal energy system look like. Right? One that's resilient, hardened, but also able to be agile and respond to the needs of the population and be monetized in a distributed fashion. Right? So you may see utilities becoming more of network operators than energy producers. Right? And then the people who are generating that through solar panels and everything else are able to buy and sell energy from their homes and also batteries and vehicles with people to great type situations. And so everybody's involved. Again, it's an ownership economy. And then we look at health and safety, right? Looking more widely than policing, but what does it really look like to have a safe society? How do you do that? And policing is part of it, but the parts that we kind of shy away from or don't invest in as much are the broader aspects of society that keep people from wanting to commit crimes, right? Because a violent crime ruins two lives. It ruins the life of the victim and the life of the offender. And so that in 12 years is going to murder somebody, right? This is a horrible thing. It's going to go out and kill somebody, right? What can we do today that's going to help that person have the kind of life that's going to prevent them from wanting to commit such a crime? And so when we think about it in the longer term, in a holistic sense, we can start thinking about what does education have to do with that? And what is the availability of democracy, different forms of voting, what happens when we get Neuralink evidence. But essentially, the system that we have today is designed for factory work, right? So this education system was designed over 100 years ago for a very different society. And so that means that people were being given this education so that they were more, they could do repetitive work, that they were more compliant, and it's a very different world. Now we need people who are more entrepreneurial, and they get excited about new innovations, and they can actually go create and work with other people. And then we got into self-actualization. This part was super interesting to think about what would happen in a post-scarcity world to people's mindsets. And what do you do in a society that's post-scarcity? Well, you might not be post-discontent, right? People would still get depressed. People might still have a lot of trauma. We all have trauma in our lives. But then how do we build a society that's trauma resilient, that helps people to get through that trauma, to be more resilient, and then figure out what they really want to do with their lives so that they can be post-discontent and thrive there at the most. And so, almost done here. But, so what that leads us to is thinking about this concept of omnithrive, which came up. And so it's similar to a concept of thinking about yourself as an organism. And you are made up of many different organs and many parts. But, for example, your liver is not in competition with your heart for survival. If your lungs were way healthier than your digestive system and they were eating your digestive system, you would die quickly, right? So every organ in your body needs to be at its maximum level of health for your aggregate organism, yourself, to be at your own maximum health. And so it's the same thing with society, right? You've got these groups that are in competition for resources, and some getting becoming underclasses, and some that are thriving at the expense of others. It doesn't thrive as much as it would when everyone is as healthy and empowered as they can be, especially with the tools and the resources and the capital that we talked about earlier, where they can go out and be a part of creating that future, be a part of that society. So this omnithrive concept is really interesting, and so we get into that quite a bit more. So that's kind of a summary of some of the concepts that we got into, but I thought this was a fun quote from Abraham Maslow that did his hierarchy of needs, just about what it means to be self-actualized, that we have an urge inside of us to go out and be our best and create a life that's worthy of our own desires and our needs and who we really are. And so that's what I'm hoping with this book. It's not that it has all the answers or that it's giving you a right design for the future, but that people who read it will get excited, be inspired, and be informed about some of the tools and frameworks that can help them to design their own future and then go out there and be a part of creating it. So there it is, and it's now available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and so feel free to get out there and grab one, and looking forward to talking with everybody about all these concepts and where we might go. Thank you. But we're not done yet. So in writing this book, I had who was in writing this book, I was privileged enough to be able to have a lot of really interesting conversations with a lot of really smart people who are involved in various areas of the economy and society. And some of these people that I wanted to talk with today and who will have a broader conversation with for everybody are Kate Drake, who has got an amazing background with startups and with the democratization of capital, with crowdfunding, and energy and all kinds of stuff. She's been a founder, and so Kate Drake will be with us. Peter Glenn, also a multi-time founder, has done a bunch of startups. He's now the founder of EV Life, which is a super cool EV finance startup, which I won't try to explain fully, but it's rad. If you're buying an EV, go there. But he's had a great background with Singularity University around energy globally and Glassdoor and many other things that wouldn't fit on the slide. And he's a great guy too. And then Jason, who helped to organize this space. Thank you, Jason. Who's also amazingly brilliant and is a sustainability designer at Frog/Gemini, and has done quite a few other things around product design and sustainability in the past. And so I'd like to welcome them up to the stage right now. We'll have a conversation about all these concepts, and then open it up for a conversation and questions that cool. Okay. So, thanks guys. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being part of this. And I think I wanted to kick off a conversation with a question about how you see the world changing. Right. So we talked about a lot of trends. We talked about transitions we're going through. But you guys are in kind of very different areas. How do you see this transition happening, and what's changed? Why is it now different than it was decades ago, years ago? And how does that create opportunity? Peter,
yeah, hi everyone. Peter Glenn, EV Life, and I think one of the things that I'm most excited about working on is the deployment or electrifying of our homes and businesses, and vehicles to drive, and energy use in our homes. The most exciting part of it is there are about 1 billion machines in the United States that we use to drive our vehicles and our appliances in our homes. And by just removing the combustion engine from these vehicles and appliances and replacing those 1 billion machines with clean, modern electric machines that are highly efficient, powered by electricity, we can reduce our carbon emissions by about 40%, save American households about $2,500 per month on a recurring basis. Per year. On a recurring basis, pretty impressive. In the process, this is like a $12 trillion market transformation, right? It's going to be manufacturing the vehicles and appliances, having a new class of contractors come and install it, of course, to provide helping making financing more affordable and reducing the upfront cost of this transition, both of financing electric vehicles and financing electrification in your home. And then with the Inflation Reduction Act, we're seeing up to $21,000 in federal tax credits available per household to make this transition and help accelerate this transition as well. So, super exciting opportunities, and that's just here in the United States. That's not looking at Europe or Asia, or Africa, Latin America, where all these transitions will take place, and perhaps there will be some leapfrogging there. Folks will just start with modern electric appliances and keep their carbon emissions low as standards of living rise.
That was great. I really loved your slide about the democratization of capital. Like, I'm fascinated by the democratization of capital and resources. And when you think about it, just how much easier it is to become an entrepreneur today than it was 10 years ago, or even more so. Just in my experience, I've worked with crowdfunding, with venture capital, angel investing, and now with working with brands. And just the amount of capital, especially for climate entrepreneurs that's out there. I believe, you're doing some numbers before I know where you're going to do this meeting. I think that this $94 billion has been assets and backing managed over the last 2 years, all for climate tech. And so that also, coupled with the IRA, with the Inflation Reduction Act, there's capital out there, there are resources, and there are talent. Like the bright side, hopefully they'll give us time to buy all of the tech news over the last couple of weeks, but the amount of talent that's also available and capital and ideas, that this is just an easy kind of being an entrepreneur working in climate, and the world needs it more than ever.
This is good. Jason?
I love that. I think about, like when we were starting a business 30 or 40 years ago, we had like a phone book and a computer.
and just the ability to consistently search for resources. But what is it? It's interesting in terms of what has been enabled. But looking for, what excites me is as a designer, the Patagonia instead of something like 90% of the products impact was determined at the design phase. So all the planning and envisioning and figuring out what it will be, we're putting in place its fundamental impacts that will happen. So we're just thinking about should this exist, and if it will, what is it worth that, and should let's invest in it possibly in those moments. I think is important. So I'm just excited that we're having these fundamental shifts to think about those billion products, like Peter was saying, what are we going to re-envision our world to live against?
Yeah, that's awesome. And in the circular economy, it's something that designers have a huge role to play in designing for circularity, cradle to cradle type of solutions. And it's not easy. When you actually start looking at the numbers and looking at the market, it gets pretty difficult. But I think designers are interested in interesting ideas. And so, like, one of the next things that came up when we were talking before was around a lot of this backlash to sustainability and ESG. And, some of it's just disinformation for political purposes, but some of it's actually true, right? I mean, all the batteries in the world is something that we need to confront from a recycling and circular economy standpoint. But in your different areas, I mean, how do you address those kind of concerns, and what's real, what's not, and how do you respond to people who are talking about this? Okay, sorry.
I really like your slide about the Horizon Red one, and how it's a little messy and uncomfortable. Like, I feel like we're in a uncomfortable state where you're thinking about ESG, and it's really great. I've talked with a very smart person today about for public companies that there are requirements for ESG and also for boards, et cetera, but it's that messy part where it hasn't necessarily, it's amazing to be moving in this direction where there are requirements or recommendations, but it's at a messy point where you may not necessarily, the intent is there, but there may not be an infrastructure that the company has to be able to support those. So I would say just thinking about, again, as a movie, so think from the user generated or user design thinking to say, what can a public company or really any company actually do, and how can we help them build their vision and be a climate company without putting them burden
So in terms of the best middle, I spend a lot of time talking to folks about electric cars, and not just at work, but in cocktail parties and what have you. And I think a lot of the objections about them are about how much better are they in terms of emissions. Typically 58% of California's electric is really clean, so it's about 80%, switching from gas to electric economy. There's also concern about mining materials, right? There is environmental impacts to sourcing all lithium and rare earth materials to go in batteries. We're going to have to dig up a lot of materials to make that happen. At the same time, we obviously can get rid of those processes, but at the same time, there's rare earth materials, which is an ex-Tesla CTO venture. And they can recycle something like 97 or 98% of material batteries. They just announced that they deal with Panasonic to actually put their recycled materials on a commercial scale into new batteries that you can nickel in their batteries that they're recycling. And it's very exciting. I think there's huge opportunities that can be created. I think if you take kind of some of the lessons from Justin's book to heart, it's about having a mindset of keeping the direction we want to go in mind. And there's going to be speed bumps, there's going to be lessons that will have to navigate that. Maybe one other example is this conversion to electric cars and straight on California's electric grid. I think all of us have lived through power outages in previous years. It's hot, there's wildfires in the state previous years. One of the most amazing things that came out this summer was that there was all this concern with the straight grid, it's record heat days in the state, and the power was really close to going out, two things happened. One, we were able to send out texts and use different demand response apps to actually encourage voluntary, like, decrease usage of electricity. On the other side, it was one of the first times where utilities like PG&E actually had allowed people to rule their Powerwalls or their backup battery systems to provide energy back to the grid and actually receive some compensation from it. And the combination of those two approaches actually resulted in zero power outages, even though that record days, record down period. And then Grid 2.0, if you will, like the traditional electric grid would just, like circuit cut every power, but this new smarter grids it's emerging that actually be flexible and be smart and actually keep us online despite the record challenges of climate change that pose. We can actually be more resilient. Fantastic. Jason, follow that.
I guess in terms of how we're having conversations with companies to kind of authentically show up their sustainable goals, I think it's part of our framing for all of our clients is that we're building the programs authentically so it feels like an extension of their business and just the way they operate, whether it's built into a digital product or a physical product and just how they treat that as a service. Mentioned circularity, that could be part of it. It's looking at we want to see the power usage on an application in its best sort of usage. How does that show up to make every touch point that we can create well considered from a sustainable standpoint and not as a mission hey, routes don't matter. It's like we don't want it to just be it's kind of just one facet of our energy, but we're one of these applications. But looking at it holistically, whether it's social or economic implications, we can also share with. I think it's about building it into the foundation of these products that they can feel like a story of time. So that feeling that sort of rehushing moment we were talking before the start of the event, you want them to feel proud to stand up for it.
You just plan green.
Oh, yeah. Earlier we were talking about this idea of we've heard greenwashing as this idea of businesses are inauthentically showing and taking credit for things that maybe they shouldn't be. But this idea of greenwashing comes from the sense of businesses are showing up, maybe falling short, but deciding rather than to tell that story and feeling like they're falling short and get sort of taking out on mind for it, they just decide not to be part of the conversation and take out their sustainability pages or not tell their stories because they might otherwise have told it and take some of those small bands out of there publicly and be proud of them. I think it's something that can do to help them in the narratives they build and create products and campaigns with companies to help them be proud of those points rather than to mention.
Yeah, and I've been seeing companies that are doing great on this tracking their greenhouse gas reductions and their sustainability measures, and they don't talk about it at all. Right? So it's like, oh, this is really great, you're going to make a press release or do a story about this. And I'm like, absolutely not. We're not going to talk about this for 10 years because of exactly that. They're afraid of being accused even of greenwashing. So there's got to be a balance where we can scrutinize companies enough to keep them honest, but also celebrate their plans and celebrate their progress. So I think as we close this out, kind of a two-part question. So we talked a little bit about opportunity, but where is the opportunity for people, and how can people get involved? Katie mentioned a lot of layoffs in the tech community recently, which is always difficult, but I think it's actually maybe the silver lining is that it's a great opportunity for climate tech to get a lot of new, really smart people, a lot of minds, a lot of passionate people who know how to build great things and put all that effort and all those smarts into climate tech. So I think that's a great opportunity. But how can we get started? Jason, you go first.
I think I got excited that every job is a great job. I think we all can bring something of our work that we have and look for those places to optimize. So I think just getting started is the toughest part. There are some fundamentally wonderful resources that have shown up just in the last few years. I'm sure we'll be on that list of those resources this year. And I think it's the best work that I've been part of as I've been in this world. It's just the mentorship, the welcoming nature of assistance. Anytime I reach out to a sustainability expert just to talk or to ask advice or to get how we get started, it always take the email or the call or whatever. You really want to hang out at a birthday party. Well, you're all fun, yeah. So I think it's just meeting and deciding, making a decision as we get into those conversations.
Just who here right now is working? Who here right now is working in climate or climate education? Anybody who wants to get it? Who's looking to get into the He's okay. I really like, I love Jamie Alexander and Drawdown Labs as the Every Job's a Climate Job. And so you go to Drawdown Labs, they have actually guides for like remarketing. Here's how to incorporate more climate into your job. Here's finance. Here's how to incorporate more climate into your job. I also really like my climate journey. I know that people are going to say that too, so sorry. That's a great way. They have it's a podcast. It's also a community. They have a membership where you can be part of their Slack community for $100 a year and know about events, know about jobs, etc. And I also like the book Speed and Scale. So if somebody's looking to start a climate company, Speed and Scale actually breaks it down into 6 main areas. Like here, so John Moore wrote this book, the venture capitalist John Moore, and he has been doing a lot of work. Like he's founded the sustainability school at Stanford because he's really doubling down on sustainability. And so he's identified 6 areas where there are opportunities to start companies. So that's also a great resource. And we can really break down the action guides for those sections too. So it's just a good resource to get started.
Awesome. And if you're interested in kind of what's happening in the clean energy space and electrifying everything, the book Electrify by Saul Griffin is one of the best books on this topic. It gets really deep, like just into the data of like how things could go right and really like just for doing the calculus around how to reach drawdown and reduce our carbon as well as we need to do it and what different steps we need to be in place. I think it's really important to do the macro level math and figure it out. We're looking for ways to get involved. This organization, a nonprofit policy group, it's called Rewiring America, rewiringamerica.org. It's a great resource for how you as an individual can get involved and advocate for us, but advocate for policy changes that bring about more energy, more electrification, more incentives for all the above. And then if you want to get into the startups, Climate Tech VC is one of my favorite reads this week. I kind of like the tech crunch of yesteryear, where you could just get like the hottest tweets on like who's getting funding and like who's obviously hiring, how they're getting funded. So really exciting place that it's attracting companies that like doing cool things in the space. But you know, we're not just going to talk about climate. I think there's a lot of exciting things happening in the world, and I would just say like, if you think about impact from a macro level, that's really important. Like, thinking about what others want to hold. It's somebody who spent a lot of time going down those rabbit holes and maybe choosing things because they were just impactful. I just encourage you to also think about coming from the personal level, like what is your heart, your passion, and what gives you energy, and also make choices based on that. I think we need people that are more fully alive and engaged with the things that they care about. So try to find that middle path between what you care about and what matters to you, what's going to get out of bed in the morning, and what's going to have a huge impact, and how things can go right, and you can be a part of that.
Awesome, thanks guys. So let's do our kind of final question, and then get some walk and some selfies. So always a fun question. What could go right? So in your own areas, if you were to wave a magic wand and look 10 years out to the future, if everything did go right and you were to think about the ideal future, what would that look like in your area?
Peter? There's a lot that could go right, in a large part because electrifying everything in our lives and kind of looking at a smart electric grid and the convergence of renewable energy in our homes and the utility scale, having those different energies interact and backing it up with different storage technologies. I can see a much more efficient world. I can see that we can have our needs met and globally a higher standard of living with less energy used. So it more of it being created locally at the whole level, and then still a good supply of clean energy being supplied at a macro level, utility level as well. But really the opportunity for people to have cleaner energy in their homes, a higher standard of living, just a better way of living and driving, and having cost them less money as well, and not having this grievous impact on the climate.
Okay.
Looking at it from an entrepreneurship lens, just having people look like creating great companies that are creating great jobs and having, and I love the hierarchy of needs where it's fulfilling, having people have fulfilling work that they feel really good about, who can be paid at a good salary where they can have a life worth living and everybody's happy and it's just bountiful, amazing, it's everywhere.
Sounds great, I live there.
I won't have all the world described. That sounds great. I think it's definitely how do we get to that place where everyone will have that middle class life that we all get to enjoy and we have all needs met and have to worry about those fundamental needs while not needing to use 2.5 Earths of resources to do it. So I think that would be wonderful to be right around.
I love all those ideas, and I agree. I think there's a future where, we make this a sustainability transition, and it's one of even more abundance than we've ever experienced before, right? That we're able to meet all these needs, and we can be entrepreneurial and creative, and not even worry about survival today, because we figured that out, because we've got plenty of technology and resources and intelligence to figure that out. We just are kind of stuck in our ways of thinking, and I think we can, if we can get there, and we can psychologically make the transition, then what would we do with our time, right? If you didn't have to work for sustenance and to survive, what might you do? It might drive a lot of craziness. There's a lot of creative outlets and a lot of community and ways that they can contribute to the world in creating something that's better than was before, that's unique with what we want to do. And if we free up resources from just survival, and how many Einsteins or Elon Musk are sitting in Delhi or Detroit or any city or low-income neighborhood in the world that just don't have the resources to get them to be able to actualize themselves. And what would that world look like where 8 billion people, which is across the day, have those resources in a sustainable fashion so that we don't just explode the earth in a day. I think it's a great world that I think we all want to live in, and one that's equitable and sustainable, and let's go get it. So thank you guys so much for being part of the panel and part of the book, and all of your all those conversations we've had were really helpful and very much so I really appreciate everything you guys do. And everybody, thanks so much for coming and being part of this. I was going to bring some books and be able to hand them out, but supply chains didn't go right, and there were some delays on shipping. So instead of book signings, I think we can use book selfies. And I'll put a QR code if you want to get a copy on Amazon or ask me. But thanks everybody for coming. Really appreciate it.